Well, before I start, I just have two things to ask from you guys. First things first, I'm gonna share a lot about my culture, a lot about where I'm from. If anyone has any questions, please say the question as it is. Don't. I'm not gonna get offended. And if the person next to you asks a weird question, have some grace on them. It's okay. Don't judge them. Um, but if we haven't met, my name is Mafti, and my name, if you like to shoot for extra credit, the correct way to pronounce my name is Mevdi. It's an Arabic word that means redeemed. So, yeah, Mevdi with a V. Mevdi, redeemed. And the reason why it got switched, person did my passport just figured to switch the words, the letters. It wouldn't be that big of a deal, so it's okay. But so you can call me Mafti. You can call me Mafdi if that fails you. Mafti's good. If Mafti doesn't work, redeemed. And if all three don't work, you can just hey, and I'll get you. But I was born and raised in Egypt. I lived in Egypt till I was 10, and then I moved to the U.S. My family and I first moved to Portland, Oregon, right when I became 10. And then the way we moved is that we won the lottery. There is a lottery that it's a worldwide kind of thing that a bunch of people apply to it, and only I think it's only 10% who get picked, and they get to come to the U.S. legally. And the way that works is if you have a family, your spouse get to come, and if your kids are under 18, they get to come with you too. So my dad has been applying for that thing before he even met my mom. So and then I think it's been like 20 years plus, and then he finally got picked, and we came here. And today I get the pleasure of serving at Church the Crossing, and I just want to say one thing. Um, this church has been the biggest blessing in my life. The pastors, the people who I serve with, and every single person I see. I think I'm speaking for the Arabic congregation as well. We can never thank you guys enough for welcoming us, for giving us a place that we can call home. It's tough to share a building with a whole other congregation. We're one congregation, but a whole other group of people with different service times and different cultures. They may do things that you don't get, and you may do things that they won't get. But we are forever in debt to Church at the Crossing, and how they welcomed us and how they just make us feel at home. And again, like we can never thank you guys enough. Um, but in Egypt, after we got the lottery and moved to Portland, Oregon, to me that was really something that we were excited because I want to tell you guys one thing. In Egypt, the thought of America and Americans is that money grows on trees. That is what we thought, and that is the idea that I had. Obviously, it's not correct. But last time I visited, my cousin asked me to send him a sports car. I mean, I bought him a Hot Wheel. That's pretty much all I could afford. But I was really, really excited to move here. But when I moved here, I like I said, we moved to Portland, Oregon, and the reason why we moved to Portland, Oregon is Egyptians, they operate based on community. I'm only gonna go to a place where I have community, and if I have community, I ain't going nowhere. So to us, it's kind of weird when people yeah, I switched churches 3 times in the past 4 years. To us, I'm like, what? So we went to Portland, Oregon because my aunt lived there, and then we had a couple of people who they introduced us to before we moved. So this is the place that we felt safest going to because we had some people that we knew. But to me, in Portland, Oregon, I had moved from Egypt having a big group of friends, troublemakers, pranksters, really funny guys. Spent most of my time with them, and then all of a sudden, I just moved here. Nobody. I had absolutely no friends, and I don't know if you know, but when I came here, I didn't really speak English, so making friends was kind of hard. I remember my first day on the bus, someone asked if they could sit next to me. I knew that that's what they're asking when I later on learned English. But then I remember my response being, I don't know. But so then that is what I would say was the beginning. I don't want to call it a downfall, but the beginning of the realization of who I want to become and the lessons that I learned through on the years. I've learned so many lessons the hard way because I'm A, stubborn, B, I don't really trust I wouldn't trust my intelligence all that much. But being alone, being separated, is kind of what the enemy loves. Because when you're alone, when you're away from the flock, it just makes it so much clearer that Jesus leaves the 99 to find the one. Because even though the 99 are plenty, that one is probably having it. So I was alone for a while. I then started hanging out with an older group of people. I remember I think I was 14 or 15, and my group of friends, like my people, were 20s to 28. So, and I don't know if you guys would agree with me. I just don't think a 25-year-old is going to get out of their way to listen to what a 14-year-old has to say. You know, and I'm speaking based on experience. Maybe I had poor experience, but I then grew up thinking that, I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I don't know how to talk. I don't know how to be how to make friends. I'm not funny. Who would ever want to listen to me? This kind of stuff. So then, I figured something, that when I was let alone, the lies that the enemy throws at you are just so much more believable when you're alone, because you've got no one to talk it out with. Like, I can go to one of my friends and be like, "Hey, I've been feeling like that," and they may make fun of me. I mean, my best friends will, but at least you got someone to laugh with. But then, the best moment of my life is when I moved to Indiana, because first things first, Church The Crossing is the first church that I can willingly call home. A place that I love, a place that I trust the teaching that I'm getting, a place that I trust the people that I'm seeing, the people that I'm talking to, and a place that is filled with so many loved ones of mine. When I moved to Indiana, actually, the reason we moved to Indiana, who knows Pastor Isaac? Anybody?
I know who it is.
So Pastor Isaac moved to Indiana and started pastoring the congregation that is now Church The Crossing Urban Service. And as soon as Pastor Isaac moved here, the amount of families that came here are insane.
Where do you come from? Where do you move from?
He moved from Egypt. He moved from
Directly from Egypt?
Yeah, directly from Egypt to pastor the congregation here. And he has been the pastor of my parents before they even got married. So he has been my pastor ever since I was born. And to me, he is like a father. Like, my dad had stopped yelling at me after I passed like the age mark of like 50. Last time he yelled at me after maturing is for dodging one of Pastor Isaac's calls. And like, he yelled at me so hard. He was downstairs, I was upstairs. I could put my phone down and still hear him loud and clear. He didn't even come up to yell at me. He just called me. So Pastor Isaac is like a father to me. And once he moved here, we moved here. My aunt's family moved here. Another family moved here. Another family moved here, and some other families are in the process of moving. And a bunch of other families moved from Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. So a bunch of people were reunited once Pastor Isaac started pastoring the congregation here. And I was reunited with all of my friends that I left in Egypt. So to me, like, it's like life and death. Like I said, we operate based on community. I just can't stress this enough. Actually, I'm gonna tell you guys a story. So here's how bad we like to be together. If people are friends or people that are used to being around each other. Yesterday we celebrated Easter because we go calendar of the church to Easter. So actually, fun fact, I celebrate every single Christian holiday twice. So if you don't get enough Christmas or don't get enough Easter, you know where to come. Just come a couple weeks after. You'll find the same thing. So yesterday we had our Easter service at 7:30 we and if you don't know our Arabic service, we go long, so like 20 songs, you know, an hour sermon, 40 minutes, something like that. So we had actually one worship set, that 20 songs I was talking about, sermon, and then another different worship set, and then we had food. By the time we were done with all of that, it was midnight. And then, so I have to be here between 6 and 7 a.m. And then they were like, time to hang out. I had two choices to make. Miss all the fun, go home and come here in the morning being energetic. Suck it up and have fun. I sucked it up and had fun.
What time did you go to bed?
Oh, I'll get to that.
Okay.
So we hung out in the gazebo until 3 a.m. We were singing songs, celebrating. There were a few people that are getting married this summer in Egypt, and we celebrated them as well. We celebrated our risen Lord and King Jesus Christ. And then when all the old people left, it was just me and the boys, and we kind of lingered for a little bit. At 4 a.m. we got hungry, so we went to IHOP. That was a nice burger. I think that burger is the thing that's keeping me running right now. But and then after we finished eating, we came back here. We lingered for a little bit. They left. I came to church. So
You haven't been to bed.
no. And to be honest, I still don't feel tired. That's how fulfilling our community is to us. So everything that's in this body is shots of espresso, brewed coffee, and that cowboy burger that I had. But when I came here, I seriously, I felt like I became a different person. It's almost like pulling a fish out of the water. And also, like in Oregon, I didn't like my pastors. I couldn't really relate with a lot of friends. I'm not saying I didn't have any close friends in Oregon, but I couldn't really relate to a lot of people. Our interests were just different, and that's not trashing them or anything. Like our interests are just different. And I was still serving in worship in Oregon, but I wasn't doing it from a place of servanthood. I wasn't doing it from a place of gratitude. I was doing it because my dad asked me to. And then when I moved here, that I think so. I've been playing drums ever since I was a little kid in churches and different services. But I think first time I got a glimpse of serving the Lord with all my heart, being absolutely grateful that I get to be here, not inconvenienced, not doing the pastor a favor, and not following what my dad told me. No. Like, you know when you don't have words to thank someone for something? I've experienced that here. I've experienced it in the Arabic service. I've experienced it in the English services. And it was just a completely different thing to me. So I came to Indiana, and by the way, all of my moves are like Egypt, Portland, Westfield. So it's just like none of them have anything to do with each other. So I came here and wrapped my high school. I think it was like the last 6 months of my senior year, and then I graduated and I applied for flight school, and I wanted to be a pilot. I love flying. I love planes, and I put so much effort into it. I passed all of my exams, all of my placement tests, all of my physicals. I took a really long physical, and then I just did everything. And then when it came for the financial, it was a full stop. Like everything that I did just went, and it was very annoying because I'm Egyptian. I don't really read stuff, but I read the terms and conditions. I was like, we're fine, we're qualified. And I took my dad, and we even sat with a money coach to guide us to get this loan accepted. And he was like, I don't know why you guys are getting declined. You guys are fine. And my dad, he made a decision that we're actually still recovering from. First of all, my dad didn't want me to be a pilot, but my dad said, here's the thing. If you want to be a pilot and this loan thing is not working, I heard I could get a loan by putting my house up for collateral. But that will result in him paying off a bunch of stuff, which he did, and he spent literally all of emergency saving, everything. and he was willing to put the house up for collateral to make me go to flight school. So then I told him, I was like, give me 4 or 5 months, and we'll revisit that. And all of my excitement turned into absolute bitterness. Like, I think my time before the Lord in this period of time was just absolutely me blaming God. Like, hey, you say ask, knock. What's up? You're not giving me anything. And I wouldn't recommend you going to God and like trying to be a smart aleck to him. But I was, and I think through my stupidity, I have had a different encounter with God. I encountered God's hand in ushering in his little child, the same way a father sort of like pushes his little baby to start walking. Like, if when your kids were young, starting learning how to walk, whenever they would take a few steps and fall, you don't get mad, right? Okay, great.
Right.
What do? You try to, and sometimes kids, like there's something in kids that's weird for adults, or I think myself to live with, is that you can't reason with them. Like, hey, don't do that, because that will result in you crying all night. But they'll still do it. But do you get mad at them? No, you still help them. You still wipe their tears. And this is the encounter I had with God through that. Through the time, I was blaming God for everything, literally everything. It's all his fault. And using all of his promises in the Bible, in my prayers, I don't want to say to trash him, but to be like, you're not doing your job, to tell him that he's basically not doing his job in my life. Through that, I have encountered God telling me, you aren't really worshiping me anymore. You aren't really praying for me anymore. Because every single time I would go to God, flight school, or you're terrible. So he opened my eyes to a realization that I wasn't worshiping him. I was worshiping my own desires, my own dream. It's not bad to have a dream. Like, I used to do this when I pray. I'd be like, God, I'm dramatic, by the way. So I would be like, God, I had a dream to fly, but now my dream is gonna fly. And then think that God is like, oh, I feel so bad for you. No. Like, think that I'm appealing to God's emotions. No, he knows better. But I then asked myself a question: would I be praying if I was in flight school? If everything went as planned? I had this realization one time. I think the dramatic level was through the roof. Sadness was through the roof. Tears were everywhere. Mess. Everyone's asleep. The whole house is dark. Mom, like, my whole future is gone. On my knees, blaming God. And then this question came in my head: would you be praying? Would you be right here in this very place, in this very time, on your knees, if everything has went according to your plan? It's an obvious all caps no. Obviously. Because throughout the 4 or 5 months that I've been praying, guess what question I never asked God? What do you want me to do? It never really crossed my mind. And it's not me being intentionally ignoring God's will for my life. I was way too invested in my own life, in my own desires, in my own opinion of what I want to do. I just completely, what's God's will? What? Completely forgot about it. So then I asked God for the first time what he wants me to do. I want to say it was about a month before I had sort of like mentally scheduled myself to apply again for that loan. And I didn't really get an answer that I liked. I didn't like the answer. So to me, it was like God saying, I don't know. I was like, I just took it as an I don't know, which is dumb. It's okay. Um, and then Pastor Andrew started hanging out with me every Thursday. Um, we started hanging out in the Haverstick. We would go get coffee and then just talk about life. And also, Pastor Isaac, I want to tell you guys something about Pastor Isaac. The word no is not in my vocab when I speak to Pastor Isaac. If he ever asks me something, I do it. It's not because he like forces me to do it. I just can't ever tell him no. Like Pastor Isaac's kids are my three closest friends, and it blows my mind that they argue with him and tell him no. So, so the word no when when I speak to Pastor Isaac is just not in my vocab. And he spoke to me and said, "Hey, you're gonna be you're gonna serve the Lord. That's your purpose." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And in my head, I was like, "It's the dumbest idea ever. Heck no." And then I started like I was into like running sound systems and stuff. I started looking up like how much money like sound engineers make a year. And I was like, no, not enough. And then like I started looking at how much money like the average pastor makes, which was I think it was like 20K a year to like 150 or like 200K a year. It was too much for me to be comfortable. So I was like, no, we'll just pass this idea. But here's the thing. Whenever I prayed with this idea in mind, um, I would hear a clear voice that it is a yes. And also, God revealed to me something. Um, it's really an idea um, that God gives each and every single person an interest, something that they like to do, something that gives them fulfillment, something that they um, find themselves doing it over and over and over again. And even with the work overload, with the the time crunch and the deadlines, they never ever regret it. They never ever get you never ever complain or get mad or angry or frustrated. So God gives everyone this interest for a reason, and ultimately it's for his kingdom. So I have some musical skills here and there and some small knowledge in the sound system. And trust me, I am the best faker ever. I'm so good at that. You guys have seen me play one or two instruments that I actually don't know how to play.
Please don't do that for
Hey, maybe it will work. Like I pulled it off. Maybe it will work. But I then had this thought that if I have some interests and skills, even if they're so humble, wouldn't be a reason behind that. Because again, there's another belief that I have. God makes nothing for no purpose. So God makes no mistakes, and everything that God creates has a purpose. I don't know if this is exactly theologically correct, but I'm going to say this idea. I believe that for every single person, in the beginning of time, the Trinity were hanging out together, and then they created everything, and then they looked at it and they're like, "Whoa, something's missing," and they created you, me, you, everyone here. Each single person, every single person in here, God looked at the universe. That's my belief, and said, "Something is missing," and then created you. So if God gave me some small skills, they're probably for a purpose. And my job, then, he already did his job. He created me and he gave me some interests and some skills. My job after that is to grow what God has given me and use it. If someone gives you a car and you park it and never use it, how do you think that person's going to feel? Like as a gift. Like if I give Kevin a Tesla, I don't have that kind of money, but let's just say it. I give him a Tesla and he parks it and never uses it. At some point, I'm gonna ask for it back. So I started praying again with an open heart and an open mind, and asking God, "Hey God, what do you want me to do? What is your purpose in my life? Um, and how do you want me to carry that on in the coming years with my future?" Because I had just been out of high school, and then my culture is high school, college, quick. No college, you're a failure. So I had to figure something out quick, you know. So I was feeling the pressure, but then I was prompted to take a year, sort of cool down, and then think through everything. And I continued to hang out with Pastor Andrew every Thursday. And the more he talked to me, by the way, he never ever mentioned ministry to me. But then later on, I told him, he was like, "Yeah, that's why I started hanging out with you."
He never mentioned what?
He never mentioned ministry to me. But then when I told him, I was like, "Yeah, you never mentioned ministry." He's like, "Yeah, but that's why I started hanging out with you in the first place." But Andrew was really helpful in this, even though he agreed with that idea. I would always ask him because I was waiting for someone to be like, "Yeah, do it." I just wanted someone to be like, "Yeah, go." But he wasn't giving me that. He was always giving me the most annoying answer ever. Pray about it, man.
Pray about it.
You know? Like one time I was telling my friend about like a really bad day I had, and he goes, "Did you pray about it?" And I was like, "Thanks, genius. Never thought about that one." But seriously, he goes, "Pray about it, see what God tells you." Which I was like, "Yeah, I've been praying about it, but can you like give me like a little head start, like push me, just anything?" And then this is funny. One time I was sitting on the stage waiting for the Arabic worship team to come, and I was just like sitting over there dangling my feet. And then James walks in and he goes, and he looks at me like he looked at me weird. And here is what I was waiting and expecting and hoping for. The Lord says He wants to send you. He wants you to go minister and do whatever. Anyways, so that's what I was waiting for. And he goes, "Hey, I think you'd be a great leader one day." And I was like, "Yeah." And I was waiting for. I was like, "That's it." And I was waiting for more. And he like turned and like made it look like he was about to start talking to me. He goes, "Have a good weekend." And I was like, "Come on, man." Like he just got my hopes up and then took me down. So the person who has been trying to get me to do ministry and like was speaking boldly was Pastor Isaac. So I even talked to him and he said the same exact annoying answer. So then I was like, "Okay, let's try it again. Let's do it again." And then I felt like God was prompting me to trust him the way Isaiah trusted him. The way Isaiah told the kings to not seek help against bigger nations. To not seek help against more powerful nations. And just solely trust in the Lord. Nobody else. So I took that blind step. And I joined AU. I major in Christian ministries. And I serve in both Church the Crossing and the Arabic congregation, which to me is a blessing and also a great lesson. Because the absolute difference with people, culture, like the way you treat someone here is not the way you treat someone there. And I'm not like saying anyone's bad. It's just different, you know. It's been an absolute blessing for me, and one of the most valuable lessons is to treat everyone with absolute love. I heard someone say this before. He goes, "The way you treat the person who you think can offer you nothing is the way you actually treat people." And I found that in myself. If there's someone that I don't really talk to, I don't think they really have any help to offer me, I don't really go out of my way to speak to them. And then it's through my encounters with different groups of people, with people here at Church the Crossing, people in the Arabic Church, that the Lord has been pouring into me different aspects of my life that need to change, different areas of my life that need seriously be burned by the fire of the Holy Spirit. Like it's the only way that I can be more like Him. And also, just a little fun fact about me: I am a coffee addict. So this place is the best place ever. We have a coffee shop, and we have Jesus. That's all I need. All I need. So, but rather than that, this place has been truly, truly a blessing. Not because of the lessons that I just talked about that are, make me look like a terrible person, but also because of the resemblance of Jesus that I see in all of you guys, in all the people that I meet, and all the people that serve. I mean, there are people that serve on the worship team and the tech team that I just look at them and I'm just like, what are you made out of? Like, why? And there are people that I meet on a daily basis, people on the prayer team, just absolute prayer warriors that while I don't really know what they're praying for, because I just see them walk through the sanctuary, but their prayers and the way that they do it just makes me question my whole life. Like it's a prayer warrior. Like what else can you do in life? What else can you accomplish in life other than being a prayer warrior and having people look at you and be like, that's a prayer warrior. So yeah, in a nutshell, this is who I am. And I would love to hear any questions about culture, about differences in culture, or anything in my life, any curiosity. Just please spit it out. Don't filter.
Oh, here we go.
So what about Joyce?
I'm just kidding. Yeah. So in Egypt, it's a little like dating and things like that is a little more conservative. It's things become the secret that everyone else knows, but they all pretend like it's a secret. Anybody else?
Yeah, what part of Egypt?
I am from the state is called El-Minya, and the city is called Beni Mazar. I think El-Minya is like the heart of Egypt, like right in the center of Egypt. And then from Beni Mazar, it's like the big city, and not really the big city, but the big city compared to the other villages. So like my dad is from a village that's not even on the map. Like whenever we went there, it's a time machine.
You gotta put it out on the map.
Yeah.
It's a catchy thing.
You don't have an Egypt.
I'll
get you. You have one? Hang on.
It's on the back. There it is.
There we
There it is.
Have you been?
All right, where am I?
Well, Nile. This is Egypt.
There's the Nile.
Alexandria. Yeah.
This is Egypt.
Cairo's right here.
You are here.
This map is missing a lot.
Well, that's
Well,
the Bible.
That's when Moses led the people out.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't think I was there. It's a nice memory. Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna put some things together.
Mhm.
You say Pastor Isaac. Was that the Isaac that played the drums here, or is it somebody else?
No.
No.
The Pastor Isaac who leads the Arabic congregation.
Okay. And number two was, you're a great phony.
You're faking.
And
Yeah.
I'm gonna explain.
I agree with this.
I'm a phony cook. I just-
Hey, sometimes you just gotta do it.
And my first impression is right,
Yeah.
which is, you're always here. You're everywhere.
This place is my home.
And you're right. And it's like, I asked you once, do you ever go home?
Not last night.
Or bed. Not last night. Yeah, not last night.
We need to get a cot here.
I can
Yeah.
tell you're not in the 45 plus crowd
No.
because the 45 plus crowd would not have stayed.
No.
It would've gone.
No.
Yeah.
So I have a question. How can we, are there things from a cultural perspective that is loving, and also are there things that from a cultural aspect that we should be sensitive of?
Like
or-
the Americans be sensitive to
Yeah,
Egyptian.
exactly. You know, because some things that you wouldn't want to do, but we wouldn't necessarily be
Yeah.
really aware of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So here's the thing. First things first, Egyptians are not Arabs. We just happen to speak Arabic. We're Africans. That's the only thing that anyone needs to know. Other than that, it's tough to offend an Egyptian. Really tough. Cultural perspective. Egyptians are really relational. I mean, it's hard to find an Egyptian who is not an extrovert. We are really relational. It's hard to, and in most aspects, in most situations, it's even disrespectful if you like pass by someone even when you're busy and not say hi, not stop by and talk, things like that. We are just relational creatures. Yeah. Was there a question back here?
I was just gonna ask, she kind of asked the same question almost that I was going to, in that, could you give an example of cultural differences? But she,
Yeah,
Like-
it's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean,
but she pretty much asked like relationally, like.
Yeah. I would even say like and I was just talking about this earlier. I feel like I see both cultures, so I see the good and the bad, and I don't really fully like both of them, both the American and the Egyptian, because the Egyptian is way too relational, to the point that sometimes it can be dysfunctional. You know, the American is really professional. I mean, you guys are still professional. You guys made the best country in the whole world, but I feel like sometimes it skips over small things that are really valuable, like small relational things. Yeah, I would say to me that's the biggest difference.
There are plenty of dysfunctional relationships.
Yeah. First of all, we are blessed to have you
Yes.
Thank you.
as
Yes.
part of our. Secondly, did you grow up as a Christian or?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I mean, is the Muslim religion more predominant
Yeah,
in
so
Egypt?
so Islam is the majority in Egypt. I think Christians are about 10-20% tops.
Okay.
And then most Christians are Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox. The Protestant Christian population is tiny. But I feel like the Muslim culture sort of presses a lot on the Egyptian culture in general. So there's a lot of filtering that we have to do. Like sometimes I like that kind of sounds Muslim, dude. That's not our culture, you know. Which again, raises up the most important thing ever. Before we resemble any kind of culture, we ought to filter through the culture of the Bible, the culture of Jesus, because no culture is perfect. No culture. The only person who is perfect is Jesus. So we're ought to do that and then filter everything through that.
You mentioned your father had started applying for this lottery before he was even married. Was that was it because he wanted to get away from something, or was he going towards something? Was
Yeah.
it because he didn't like what was going on in his personal situation, or was there did he see a better opportunity for whatever he wanted
Yeah.
in America?
So here's the thing. In Egypt, corruption is high. Opportunities, not that much. If you don't know anyone, chance of you getting an opportunity, a fair opportunity, is bad. And I am saying this if you are a Muslim. If you are a Christian, multiply that by 10. You know, I mean, and it's really easy to recognize who's a Muslim and who's a Christian even by the names. The names sound Christian or Muslim. Like most Muslims are names from the Quran, which are basically phony names that they just took Old Testament prophets and renamed them. And some of them are really not creative. But anyways, there's just like, I'll give you an example. Right now, I am a 21-year-old. I have my own car. My dad has his own car. My mom has her own car. Having a car in Egypt was something that we couldn't even dream of. You know, I think my parents made something like together combined like 400 pounds a month or 500 pounds a month when the dollar costed, I think, 7 pounds. And like, if there's one thing that I remember vividly is my dad turning the rent guy away because there's nothing, you know. And I remember from my dad, Egypt is not a starving country like other countries, but we get by, you know. Like my dad have shared with me like many times where him and my mom are just like fridge is gone, like there's nothing in the fridge, and someone would just knock, and they're praying for food, and someone would just knock, and they're like, hey, here's like a pot of whatever.
What did your father do? What was in Egypt?
That's a funny question because my dad did anything and everything.
Okay.
My dad was a teacher. Oh, my dad didn't even graduate. I think he graduated middle school. That was pretty much it. But he was a pharmacist. He was a teacher. He was the designated shots person in our church. Like he was a guy who gives people shots, and he's great. Like one time I went to a hospital here and they were trying to draw blood, and then they poked me like 5 times, and he goes, "Hold on, put it here." And as soon as he put it, blood came. You know, he's really good. Like, you know, sometimes you just gotta learn that way. You know. So he was a designated shots person, a pharmacist, teacher, tutor, and he worked in the city council all at the same time. And my mom was a teacher. Oh, funny story. My mom was a teacher at a school, and then my dad was hired at that school after my mom. So then my dad was usually the kids stay in the class and the teachers just go back and forth. So my dad was in the class. He yelled at a guy and got him in trouble. And then next is my mom, and he goes, "That new teacher is so dumb. He yelled at me and put me in the back." So I went in the back and just, "Hey, he's so stupid." She goes, "Who's stupid?" And my mom beat the crap out of him that day. My mom has a thing where she would put the pen in between the fingers and then just like do this and squeeze. It's just like, if any of you guys want to try it, feel free. Also, I'm a diehard school hater, mostly because I got beat up at school every single day, and by the nuns. I was in a Catholic school, so I'm traumatized.
Thank you so much, Mafi, for coming and sharing. I just wanted to kind of understand. So it sounds like, you know, your process of finding out what direction to go in life was a process.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as clear, it wasn't exactly what you wanted to be a pilot. And you were trying to get the Lord to kind of sign on what you wanted.
Yeah.
And that didn't work out
he
so
didn't get
well. You
convinced.
couldn't manipulate him like you were thinking. And so those doors kind of closed. And then, you know, it sounds like it was a real process to find out what was next and what was the open door. And it was kind of through a lot of relationships, it sounds like.
Yes.
And a process of getting to know him better.
Yeah. And I would say, like, when people say, "Can you share your story or testimony?" I'm like, yeah, which one? I've got one me being dumb, one me being sinful, one me being, you know, like just spending a lot of money. Because even like when I wanted to be a pilot, I spent so much money on like flight simulator stuff. I still have them in my closet just sitting on the ground. But I just found God to be. I read something in a book that said God is not creepier than you could think. He's a lot creepier than you could even fathom. And by creepy, I mean the dude is just so patient, so loving. I just don't believe it sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
You know, you don't necessarily have to give up on that flight schools, because there are plenty of Christian ministries that.
Should I wing it? Like,
Missionary pilots.
Yeah, you should like wait. Not when I'm on the plane.
God might take you full circle. You might end up being a missionary pilot.
maybe.
Just don't fake that. Just
I-
don't fake being a
Yeah,
pilot.
don't fake
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, right.
Hey, I'll have a lot of experience in Flight Simulator 2017. That's what the game's called, and the Lord's grace and mercy. It's keeping me to this day with no sleep. So, any other questions? Yes.
I love church history.
Mhm.
I just think it's neat how God has placed
was planted Christianity. I was just curious, in Egypt, the Protestant church, if there's a history, like a denominational history that birthed that.
Yeah. So the church that I came from is the Assemblies of God Church in Egypt, and here's how it was in Egypt. It was Egypt used to be mostly Christian. Most of the Middle East was Christian until Islam came, and their sort of way of spreading Islam is to what's the word? Not invade, but like just they say it. They call it like the opening. They open the nation and they open it and declare it a Muslim nation. And the way Islam works is when they are in charge. Here's how the most loving religion in the world operates. Everyone has to convert, and if you don't convert, you have to pay what they call jizya, which is basically a fee for your safety. And if you don't do that, ultimately, and then also like it's not as lovey-dovey as it sounds. Like it's not like you're gonna pay a fee and then they're gonna let you live in peace. You know, like
Moody Bible College in Chicago has air flight training, and a lot of times you can get scholarships for rides for free. And not only that, if you graduate, you can actually do medevac helicopter transporting patients, traumatic patients. And there's probably a dozen or 14 helicopters in Louisiana.
Oh wow!
So that's something.
You guys are letting up something.
There we go.
It's like we're trying to get rid of you.
You guys want me to go? Just tell me.
I would just like to affirm your call and apologize for the little devils on your shoulder.
No, we're adding to it. I mean, he
Yeah.
can do it all.
Yeah. Hey, when people always ask me what do you want to do, I'm always like, I know the Lord wants me to serve Him, but do what exactly? I don't know, so I'm learning it all, so I can give Him options.
And that can change
So-
over the season.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's up to Him.
Right now, you're in a season of music ministry here. So.
Yeah.
You need to stick with them.
Yeah. And it's been one that's it blessed me beyond, and not only like spiritual blessings. I've learned so many things in this building. Crazy.
This may not pertain to you, but I want to tell you this. So have you heard, you're a musician, have you heard of a guy named Carmen?
No.
Okay, I think he's now deceased. I don't think he's alive anymore.
Yes.
But there's a song that he sings, and this song has always resonated with me. And the words are, your desire is the confirmation. Your destination is there. God hasn't put it in your spirit if it's not going anywhere. So set your sight on the promises and don't be scared. Your desire is the confirmation. Your destination is there. And that's always just really stuck with me. And I don't know
Thank
for
you.
whatever reason.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Also, side note, I'm the most uncultured person you guys will ever see. Like, you guys know CJ, right?
Yep.
CJ has been in the U.S. for, I mean, a few months, like 7-8 months maybe. He knows more things about the U.S. than me. Like he will tell me stuff and I don't know them. So that I figured that's a disclaimer to put it out there.
How did you decide to come here?
To the to Indiana or to the U.S. in general?
No, the church.
The church. So I was introduced to Church the Crossings through Arabic service. We first were doing our services in the Haverstick, and then during COVID, they were like, just for people so that people can spread out more, you're going to be in the sanctuary, and we've been meeting in the sanctuary ever since. And then we started the merger process from there, where we merged together and became one church. So Arabic Church No More. It's Church the Crossing Arabic Service. And I was singing once on the platform, and someone posted a video of me, and Pastor Clint saw it, and he recruited me from there. And then it's just, this place has the best recruiters ever. Like and not only recruiters, but like the most patient, loving people ever. And it was through Pastor Clint and Pastor Andrew that I slowly started getting more involved and introduced to the English service at Church the Crossing. And from there, I just absolutely fell in love with it and can't ever stop. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. We're glad to have you.
Hey,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe.
Let's pray for this guy.
Yes.
Can we do it?
Yes.
All right. Dear Lord, thank you so much for Mofty. Thank you that you brought him here. You got him on a journey, and we want to pray for that journey. So as he is studying and he is praying and he is following your lead, Lord, lead him to great things. Lead him to really, really great things. And as those are revealed to him, help this guy say yes. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Monty.
All right. We'll see you next week.
When we were in Mexico,